talk about this stuff, I want to get your rock and roll, Joe. I'm sure you'd give a great one.
Okay, sounds good. Absolutely.
3, 4. Joe is every guitar player. Played it from his heart. Here's to Joe.
Joe is every funky drummer who knew when to stop and start. Way to go, Joe. And we all bow down to the ones that took us to it,
Ones that took us someplace where we needed to go.
and we all bow down to the ones that got us through it.
Here's to rock and roll, Joe.
Joe is every bass player who played it from his balls. Here's to Joe.
Here's to Joe. And Joe is every fiddle player who slammed us to the walls. Way to go, Josephine. And we all bow down to the ones that took us to it.
Ones that take us someplace where we needed to go.
And we all bow down to the ones that got us through it. John,
Here's to rock and roll, Joe.
here's to Joe. Here we go on the chorus.
Joe is every keyboard player who played it like he was from the South. Way to go, Joe.
Joe is every sweet horn player who pressed that thing up to his mouth. Way to go, Joe.
And we all bow down to the ones that took us to it.
Ones that took us someplace
Where we needed to go. And we all bow down to the ones that got us through it. Here's to rock and roll, Joe.
Fantastic. Chip Taylor and the Rock and Roll Joe Show right here at KPFT Houston. Playing tonight over at the Mucky Duck, and should be a fantastic time. The new CD was in stores last week, and of course you can go to the website and participate and throwing in your Rock and Roll Joe there, and that's rockandrolljoe.com.
Yeah, there's two sites. There's one, rockandrolljoe.com is where you want to go to see all the Rock and Roll Joe heroes and what people are talking about. And the general site for our stuff is Trainwreck Records. That's the little record company, trainwreckrecords.com.
Okay.
And that'll guide you to Rock and Roll Joe or vice versa.
Sure.
So,
Now, when you went there for the first time, did you throw somebody in, or did you already have a couple people that were
yeah, well,
there?
I threw in several people. One the guy that got me my first, taught me guitar playing first, and ended up playing with Tammy Wynette. And if it wasn't for that guy taking our demos around,
you'd still be playing golf.
Yeah, maybe.
You actually did play pro golf for a little bit?
Yeah, my dad was a golf pro, and I turned pro when I was 18 years old and played in a couple of tournaments. But my dream was to get in the music business, and thank God I did, because I could shoot 65 one round, 85 the next, and I was right. No consistency. But the fellow that I attributed, one of the guys I attributed, Greg Wardiak, he's the guy that took the demo. I had made some demos with the band that with Greg and another fellow that said Darryl. We called ourselves the Town and Country Brothers. And like a lot of kids back in those days, I made some demos, and like most people that submit demos in the normal channels, got rejected from Dot Records and Decca Records. Thank you, but no thank you. But Greg, the guy I attribute, believed in it so much he started walking the streets, and we ended up getting our first. He ended up going to King Records at the all-black division in New York. Yeah. And this guy saw him come in and saw this little white kid from Mount Vernon. He said, "Come in here, son." Played the demo, and the guy's name was Henry Glover, the guy that signed Hank Ballard and the Midnighters, signed James Brown. He signed me. They signed us to King Records.
Very nice.
So if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been there.
How long after that did you write Wild Thing?
Maybe it was maybe 7 years after that, or 8 years after that.
Okay.
7, 8. Yeah.
Is that a nuisance to you, or are you proud of that? I mean, people still say, "Oh, you wrote Wild Thing."
I
you've
don't
done so much since then.
Yeah. No, I'm always up for doing what's tomorrow and what's current.
Sure. But
that being said, I don't turn my back on that at all. I remember the day I wrote it and how I felt, and it felt great to me, and I loved writing it. As I did all the things that I wrote that were hits, but I just don't want to live. Rock and Roll Joe is not a reflection of the past, it's a reflection of the passion of great music. So we have a song that speaks, actually we're talking about Greg, and we might as well get to this one when I was talking about King Records and all that. Back in those days, when we were signed to King Records, we were joined by studio musicians that were heralded at the time. And some of these guys never got any credit, but they played for all the King Records artists, all the great Little Willie John, all those great records, and then the Savoy Records. And so I tribute those musicians on a song called The Savoy Files, which is about all the musicians that played on King Records and Savoy Records back in those days.
Now, is that one you're going to sing for us?
Yeah,
okay. Let's go ahead and let's go right into it.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Charlie Mingus, who come bumping like that. Come on, Johnny, give me a little song. Guitar, here we go. And who come bumping like that? Who come bumping like that?
ChipTayler, John Plantania, and Kendall Carson together as Rock and Roll Joe playing tonight over at the Mucky Duck. Kendall, do you have any artists that you threw into the mix over at the website?
No, I didn't throw any well-known artists from records or anything into the mix, but the people I wrote about were actually my great-grandfathers, because both of them, I found out later, I never knew them, but they both played fiddle apparently, so sort of a little more born into me than I realized.
One on each side?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
My mom's side of the family is from Sweden, and that's where he played, and my dad's side, he's from the Ottawa Valley, which is a pretty famous fiddle community in Canada, if you can call it that. And yeah, I just thought it was really cool that when I grew up learning about old time music and stuff, it really, to me, maybe the original Rock and Roll Joes could have been the fiddle players out on the prairies and stuff in Canada, because they really, I mean, music keeps people's spirits up in hard times, and that's what they did for sure. Yeah, and that's why I chose them. So I think it's up there. Yeah.
And you have your own record out as well that Chip helped produce.
Yeah, I've got 2 solo albums, both released on Trainwreck Records.
Okay.
That Chip wrote lots of the songs. We co-wrote some of the songs together, and he produced the albums. Yeah.
Very nice. And John, have you thrown in some?
Yeah, there's one Hank Garland.
Okay.
You know who he is?
I do not.
Hank Garland was this unbelievable genius guitar player. He was probably A-list country guy in what, the 60s, Chip? 50s and 60s.
and early 60s.
But he also was a mind-blowing jazz player. But I knew him as a jazz player. I didn't know till after the fact that he was an A-list country guy.
Okay.
And he, you know, the only guy I know of that actually lived in both worlds quite easily.
Sure.
And
especially back then. There wasn't a lot of crossover things.
I mean, he influenced George Benson, you know, so just a mind-blowing player. And then I just found out that movie Crazy was about him. I had no idea it was about, I thought it was about Patsy Cline because of the song Crazy, but it was really about him, and I've got to check that film out.
Very nice. John, is there any other things you've been working on besides hanging out with Chip and doing the Rock and Roll Joe thing?
Yeah, a couple things. I just got done producing this singer that I work with a lot, this R&B kid, and we did, I told him to do 11-song tribute to Dylan, because this is his 70th birthday this week, and it's called Winter 61, which is the 50th year that he strode into New York. So it's a tribute to him. 11 songs that we interpreted.
And what's the young man's name?
Nick Rail.
Nick Rail, okay.
Yeah, I got some great players on there. I got a player from Sting's band, Ira Coleman, played with Tony Williams and Herbie Hancock. And drummer actually was on the Rolling Thunder, Gary Burke. So just real minimalist, just four people.
And you've produced quite a few albums in your time. You have a studio that you work from?
Nah, studios. Where I live, there's tons of studios, like Nashville North, you know, and
where do you live?
Mid-Hudson Valley,
Okay.
Rhinebeck, Woodstock area.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And Gary, you're coming in from Vancouver. You flew in yesterday?
I flew into Austin yesterday.
Okay. And Chip, where are you calling home these days?
New York City.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So you guys are all kind of close together.
Yeah.
Is the Texas heat killing you guys, or is it?
Nah,
so you guys
love
look
it.
forward to it?
Well, actually, for me, it's we stay at the airport hotel in Austin, which is a very comfortable place for us to stay. But it's got one of the things is blasts you with air conditioning.
Right.
So part of the day is always fun just to walk out in that heat. And it's not that humid or something like, because it feels good to be out there, you know.
Give it a
So
few hours.
I'm liking it. I'm liking it.
That's awesome.
You guys are playing tonight over at the Mucky Duck, and I know that we're missing Tony. He's actually here, but